love to hear the bustle, the murmur of getting to know each other. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I am Evelyn Jean-Francois, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Food. You can have a seat anywhere you want, as long as it's not right. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Food for Thought, presented by the Dinner Party NYC. Clap it up for yourselves for being in the building on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. The sun is down. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with us, and that is very humbling. It makes me really, really glad. So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce who we are as the Dinner Party NYC. The Dinner Party NYC, our mission is to accelerate stronger relationships, specifically in the lives of Black women entrepreneurs, team collectives, and community organizations. Through this mission, we contribute to underscoring the individual experiences of these that contribute to the ecosystem of a healthy, reciprocal community. Basically, scratch my back, I scratch yours. You teach me something, I teach you something, everybody eats. The mission, the Dinner Party NYC curates guided networking programs like our annual dinner party event. If you've been, then you know it's fire. If you haven't been, stay tuned. But we have that dinner party event. We also create icebreakers, panel discussions, and workshops to help accelerate strong connections and productive teamwork among entrepreneurs, teams, and organizations. The Dinner Party NYC is poised to make a lasting impact on New York City's ecosystem of Black and Brown communities. First and foremost, before I go any further, I have to say thank you to the Gentleman's Factory and Live and Move Wellness. Without those two parties, we wouldn't be gathered here in person together. If you're familiar with the Dinner Party NYC's Food for Thought programs, they're usually virtual, and we gather online, and that's great too. But this is our first time gathering in person, seeing each other face to face, looking in your eyes, giving hugs like the one Julius gave. And it changes the dynamic of us getting to know each other, coming new and leaving known. So clap it up for Gentleman's Factory. And also clap it up for Live and Move Wellness, founded by Nicole. Oh, Lord. If it wasn't for Live and Move Wellness, we would not have our facilitator today, Janelle Thompson. So I'm just so glad. I sent the email, and the both of them came on the Zoom call, and we met, we clicked, and Janelle was like, wait, I know somebody at the Gentleman's Factory, and it just worked out. And that's just the evidence, that's the fruit of the Dinner Party NYC. Coming new, leaving known, and working together to make experiences, ideas, and visions greater than they already are. So thank you. Thank you to Live and Move Wellness and Gentleman's Factory. So before I introduce our Janelle Thompson, I did want to have a quick icebreaker with everybody in the room. And it's not too crazy, but I do want everybody to share their name and to answer the question, how are you? And you have to tell the truth. This is not the New York City version of like, hey, how you doing? And then turn around, don't care. I actually want to know, and I'm sure Janelle wants to know. So I'm going to go around the room and just share your name. If you own a business, please share the name of your business and tell us, how are you? So I'll go first. My name is Evelyn Jean-Francois. I am the co-founder of the Dinner Party NYC. And today I am sweating bullets because it is our first in-person gathering of Food for Thought. It makes me a little nervous because we're used to grandiose gatherings and it's all fancy and stuff, and this is way more intimate and informal. So it's new for me, and me stepping into this new territory is a learning experience. I'm learning along the way, and it's going good. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. How about you, Janelle?
So hi everyone, I'm Janelle. I am your facilitator for tonight. I'm also the owner of Simply Redefining Wellness and Counseling, and also the owner of A Flourish Life, which is a consulting and coaching company. And so tonight I'm feeling excited. I got some information to share with you guys. I'm excited to connect with people. I'm excited to see what comes of this, right? And I'm excited for Evelyn because I know this is an idea that she had, and it was a virtual thing. And so to do something in person is always amazing. I think one of the things I learned in the pandemic is going from having virtual support groups to having in-person support groups. And I love it because people really get to connect. They connect with each other. They realize, I'm not in this alone. Half of us are going through the same stuff in different ways. And you learn from each other by being present in the room. So I'm excited for tonight.
Excellent. Who's next? I'm gonna have a seat. Whoever's next. Okay.
Are you setting a precedent that we have to stand up?
Oh, no.
Here's how it is.
It's just me. I like being different.
Hi, I'm Julius Stutz Jr. I do filmmaking in digital storytelling, and I am elated.
Ooh, elated. Good one. Elated. Who's next? You don't have to stand up in the front.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah. I am the owner and founder of Madame Sarah Charcuterie and Grazing, and I'm feeling exhausted but optimistic.
Good.
Right? It was like, hi everyone, I am Ebony Smalls. Actually the name of my company is Ebony's Mindful Moves. I am also a mental health professional, meditation coach, professor at Hunter College School of Social Work, and I go into different spaces and just talk about mental health and wellness. I also can provide therapy individually as well as meditation coaching individually. And how am I feeling? Well, I'm the mom of a newborn. I'm tired as fuck. but I'm definitely happy to get back outside, because being pregnant was really, really tiring, more tiring than actually having the baby. And so it's nice to get back outside, seeing people again, and making connections, because I can't do my work without people. And so I want to, get back out and meet and greet and just, continue to make connections.
That's good.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Inspired.
So hi everybody, my name is Jordy Lakeem Foster. I am the CEO of a production agency called JFP Studios, and I'm the co-founder of a branding agency called Brandscape 360. And we specialize in what we call the ABCs of business development. So we work with business owners, CEOs, marketing executives, chief of communications, and we help them to develop content that's aligned with their brand, and then we do lead generation campaigns so that they could make more money, of course, because everybody tends to complain that marketing is the most expensive thing, but we try to show through like a lot of math, like if you spend $50, you'll get this. And then we prove that through the marketing campaign so that we could keep working with them and they could make more money. Today I was feeling stressed because I had 5 clients at the same time make very different requests, and they all had to get fulfilled in the space of like 48 hours. So I was in the room there like all day today because I just wanted to like I'm very structured, so if I start A and I get distracted, it'll take me a long time to come back. So I just locked in to knock out most of the stuff. So I'm not as stressed before, but the stress is still there until everything is closed out.
Thanks for your honesty. Who's next? We are sharing how we're doing, our names, our businesses, and how we doing.
Hi everybody, my name is Taki Bond. I am the CEO and founder of What's the Move, which is I don't even know what to call it at this point.
Lifestyle.
I guess. I don't know. I guess I'm still kind of defining it, but it's a platform that lets you know about parties, events, happy hours, restaurants, everything going on in the city. And it also doubles as a ticketing platform. So we're like Eventbrite, but we get you your money faster and we take less in fees because Eventbrite is wilding right now. They're wilding. So I started out with the goal of just, helping the people who are creating events and creating spaces from the ground level. I think that no company should take that much money if somebody's starting something and trying to build something. So I just wanted to be that catalyst, I guess, be that disruptor. How I feel? I'm alright. I'm here. No, I'm okay. I'm happy. I haven't been happy in a long time, but I'm happy. Things are going pretty good. I really have no complaints at this stage. I think just like everybody else, I guess around my age group, we just navigating through everything and finding that balance and finding, peace and happiness in what it is that we're doing, and Harlem shaking through it, That's all.
We love that. Who's next?
Hi everybody, my name is transitions from the music industry to now being in makeup full time. It's been my passion for the past 10 years. And I'm primarily focusing on this year to teaching women how to enhance their natural glam. So you don't have to book me for over $200. You can just learn on your own. And I'm feeling good. I had a really productive day. I'm a bit tired, so I'm looking forward to getting my energy up in the session tonight.
Excellent. Thank you. This side of the room.
It's a little quiet over there.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Anthony Thompson. I'm the other half of the Thompsons.
Okay.
So I had started a company called Kingfield King, where we focus on entrepreneurship, mental health, and also legacy building. A lot of times, our boys do not have narratives. So we create spaces every month at the Gentleman's Factory on Saturday from 9 to 12, where we have entrepreneurs, like-minded people, and do a lot of workshops. I want them to be able to have an understanding what success looks like from the age of 10 to 21 to when they get to an older age, they understand that the table belongs to them. So, my name is Anthony Thompson. Thank you, and welcome to the Gentleman's Factory.
How do you feel?
How do you feel?
Once I see my wife up there, I feel blessed.
Look, man, you got A. My God.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole.
Clap it up for Nicole.
I'm the founder of Live and Move. We are a wellness organization that helps people to bridge the gap between moving their bodies and their mental health. And so I'm really excited to be here tonight and for this conversation. How I'm feeling, I'm tired. I've been going all day, but I'm excited to be here and to be a part of this conversation and to meet you all.
Who's next?
My name is Selena. I'm just here to get over knowledge I can, and today I feel okay.
Somebody over there said they can't hear you.
My name is Selena.
They did not think
I'm here to get all the knowledge that I can, and today I feel okay.
I'm my husband, Marcos. I am currently on the process of becoming more than an apprentice in trades, so HVAC, electrician, welding, and carpentry, mainly because I don't specialize in one. I really specialize in all, because that's how you build a house. And I'm feeling curious.
You always gonna have a job, man. You never gonna without a job. You're a smart person. That's what smart people do. That's smart
If you
people
want
do.
to.
I'll go next.
Okay. Wait, one mic. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Samantha. I own a shop in New Rochelle called Shipping Packaging Plus. I run it with my dad. We basically do mailing through FedEx, UPS, and post office. We have mailboxes. We print flyers. We do all types of printing, like passport photos, like large print, a little bit of everything. And then today I'm feeling less overwhelmed because I had a lot to do this week, and like dealing with customers and like large orders from other customers. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We love that's beautiful. Mom and pop, well, pop and daughter business. That's beautiful. Last but not least,
my name is Jada. Business is kind of in progress. I don't really want to share too much.
okay.
She got me out the house today. I've kind of been in a little like mental funk. I had a death in the family earlier this month, so I kind of haven't really been in a good space. So it feels good to get outside. So I would say today I'm like happy.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for inviting us. All right, thanks for sharing, everybody. How we feeling? Now we can introduce to you our facilitator for the evening. Janelle Thompson is a licensed therapist and CEO of Simply Redefining Wellness and Counseling. With a decade of experience in mental health and public health, she merges the Christian faith and counseling to create a safe and empowering space for clients to heal and transform. She holds a master's in mental health counseling and is licensed in New York and New Jersey with several board certifications. Beyond counseling, she coaches clinicians and professionals enjoying travel, cooking, and music in her downtime. So please clap it up for our facilitator.
Well, thank you everyone for having me. So today we're talking about navigating mental health, right? And so I'm excited to really dive into this. Obviously, I'm a therapist, so most things I'm talking about is concerning mental health, is concerning mental illness, right? And so we're gonna dive into this topic right away. Go ahead. So as Evelyn said, I have 10 years plus of experience in mental health, social service, and public health, and I've served in various populations. I currently own a group practice. We have an office location in Jersey City, and we also service New York. So we service New York and New Jersey. I have a team of 6 Black clinicians. They all vary. I have a clinical social worker, I have a several marriage and family therapists, and also mental health counselors and graduate students as well. So, remember, we are closer to the realm of mental health than we might think. It's a journey that touches everyone, whether directly or through the people we care about. Do y'all agree with this? Right? Every person in this room can connect with mental health in some way, shape, or form. Even if you feel like you have yet to experience anything connected to mental health, you have someone around you that has experienced this. Okay. So we're gonna do a little exercise. Today we're gonna talk about proximity, we're gonna talk about the myths, we're gonna talk about what is mental health, and I'm gonna share some practicality, because what's the sense about talking about it without leaving here without any practicality to actually implement in your lives as entrepreneurs? So, identifying your mental health proximity. I'm gonna read some questions, or statements I should say, and I simply want you to just raise your hand if you agree with the statement, or if you can connect with any of the statements, okay? So, one is raise your hand if you ever felt overwhelmed by stress or anxiety related to your work or personal life. Notice how many people are in the room raise their hand. Or raise 2 hands. Raise your hand if you know someone close to you who has experienced depression or significant mental health challenges. Raise your hand if you ever found it difficult to balance your work and personal life to the point it affected your mental well-being. Raise your hand if you ever felt the pressure to succeed was too much to handle on your own.
You in my business.
And raise your hand if you ever hesitated to seek help for mental health issues because of stigma, fear, or judgment. Right? How did y'all feel raising your hand? What did you notice in the room? Everybody, right? At some point, everybody had their hand raised. And so it's closer than you think. And we're in an era where mental health is talked about everywhere, and it's becoming more normal for people to go to therapy, to seek support, to seek help, but there's still stigma, right? It depends on your background, your family, right? You may actually be first generation to go to therapy, and your family might still struggle with the idea of going to therapy or seeking help, or talking about business outside of your house, right? And so understanding what does that look like for you, and understanding how you can connect with the rest of the world, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're doing something, you have employees, right? They might be having mental health challenges. How do you navigate that? How do you work through that, right? While you may be having your own mental health challenges, so everybody is going through something at some point, and we have to think about how can we be compassionate towards others, but also how do we identify and know what's happening in the room. Go ahead, everyone. Were you surprised? Were any of you guys surprised with the number of hands raised? No? Right?
No.
We're hiding a lot of things.
Right? Okay, you go to the next slide. So now I'm going to do truth versus myth, right? And I want you guys to raise your hand if you think the statement on the board is true. So, mental health issues are a sign of weakness. Anybody think that's true?
I'd like to throw an opinion.
Okay.
Right? So, I believe, and my thought may change tomorrow if I get new information,
Yeah.
but I think that there are certain activities in the body that are controllable, right?
Okay.
So I think that there is clinical depression, and then I think that there's also like a state where you accept that condition, and then your body retreats. Because what depression is your body conserving its resources,
Okay.
so that you don't run out of energy, right? So there's the clinical side of depression, and then I believe that there's the part of it where you can control it by engaging in activity. So whether that is working out, whether that is socializing more, talking more about your problems, engaging in work that you enjoy, and different things like that, you can do that to control the rate of depression. Because what happens a lot of the times, and I'm open to be challenged on this, but what happens a lot of the times is that we accept, oh, I'm depressed, and then don't do anything about it, you know? And I've known people that have taken like Ritalin for it, you know, like Ritalin is a Schedule C drug, right along with Coke, you know? So I think that one example is an activity that to some extent can be controlled, because when you're depressed, it's chemicals being released in the body, you know? Now, I don't know anything about the clinical side of it where something is running in your family or anything like that, but I think that that's not that it's a weakness, but it's something that I believe, and this belief has served me really well personally, that I believe that we have more control than we're led to believe.
Yeah.
So I choose to live my life like that, and it's that's an opinion that I have.
Okay. Anybody else have an opinion?
You know?
I just want clarification.
Yeah.
So you're saying that like, if it's not caused by genetics or whatever, please, I am not a scientist, forgive me. But like, if it's not caused by some sort of like genealogy situation and you still can't control it, it's a sign of weakness? Is that your like
I never
take on
said
things?
that.
Well, no, that's why I'm asking, because I'm
So I'm saying that it is more controllable because we can do something about it, you know?
Okay.
Like you could have a condition, but then you could choose whether to stay still or do something about it. Is more so what I'm saying.
Okay.
And it's not choosing weakness?
Hmm?
It is not choosing to fix it weakness, considered weakness?
No, I think it's a personal choice, but I think that your attitude a lot of the times, how it reads in your body, your subconscious mind, it doesn't really know the difference between something bad and something good. So if you say to yourself, so like if you say to yourself, hey, like, I'm stupid, eventually your body registers that and now it becomes a part of your daily function. Whereas if you say more positively affirming things, which is why we have affirmations, your brain reads that as just an instruction.
Okay.
So from that perspective, I think there's a lot of control.
Okay.
So it's not a sign of weakness, but it's just an opinion.
I'll be quick. I don't think it's a sign of weakness. I think it's a sign that something within us is weakened.
That's what I wanted to say.
That's the best way I can describe what I think is true.
Because it's like it's like you can be spiritually weak, you can be physically weak, you can be financially weak.
Right.
You know, all those are aspects of health. So
It doesn't make you like.
it's not like to see you're weak, but it's like right now in the moment you're just not.
Something is not
Yes.
Like something's off.
as
I like
strong
that.
as it
Yes.
should be.
Yeah.
And so the reason why, I'm gonna continue, Nikki. The reason why I put that up there, right, is because so many times people are walking around thinking this, right? Like, this is how people are operating and think, oh, because this person deals with depression or anxiety, they are a weak person. But wellness, right, there are 8 dimensions to wellness, similar to what you said, right? There's the financial, you could financially just be having a bad month, right? Or a bad quarter, whatever it may be. Or, right, we also have physical health, right? We also have occupational health, right? And so all of these dimensions to wellness make a person, right, who they are, but they're parts of a person, right? And so if you take, for example, one of the typical things I'll do with clients sometimes is we'll look at a life wheel and we'll say, where are you on the scale of 1 to 10, right? And if you look at the scale of 1 to 10 and you see that and you're like, oh, in one area I'm a 2, in another area I'm an 8, another area I'm not even on the chart, somebody help me, right? And so what we realize is when one area is out of whack, everything gets affected, right? And so it's not mental health is not to your particular character, right? It doesn't represent the character of a person. But I think some of what you're saying is there are coping skills, there are things that you can do, right, to help alleviate the symptoms of depression, of anxiety. And not everyone, I'm gonna talk about it later, but not everyone actually meets the criteria to have a mental health diagnosis. So sometimes we're saying, I have depression, but you don't meet the criteria. If I pull up the DSM, you just said, and it's okay, right? And that's it's okay to say, but you might not meet the full criteria of a person that has full-blown major depressive disorder, right? Or you may not. We're going to talk about some mental health stuff later, but you may not meet the criteria for. We say it all the time, that person's so bipolar. They may meet 1 or 2. And they don't meet the whole criteria for what that is, right? And so we're using language without having full knowledge or understanding of a whole person, okay? So that is a myth.
It's a myth.
It's a myth.
That's
a myth. So next one. Successful entrepreneurs don't struggle with mental health issues.
Everybody called that.
I always say, you gotta be crazy to be an entrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
Like, hey, really, you wanna do this? You wanna struggle and do this?
You bet 2 months away.
Every week as an entrepreneur, right?
We get generous.
Every other hour.
We often face the highest levels of stress, right? You're always thinking, your brain is always on, right? Because the difference, the reality is if you're a full-time entrepreneur, you don't show up to work unless you have skill to that space yet, you do not get paid. Right? Or you don't get paid the amount that you thought you was gonna pay yourself. Versus when you clock into the 9 to 5, you are making, regardless if you sick,
First and the 15th.
late,
I remember that.
right? You get paid, right? Whether it's the first and the 15th, the 15th and the 30th, or every 2 weeks on a Friday, right? You know that check is coming in. And so even how you show up in your everyday life as an entrepreneur, right, challenges your mental health.
Yeah.
Go ahead, everyone. Talking about your feelings makes you less of a leader.
That's a myth.
Everybody agree with me?
Yeah.
Yep. Right? I actually, so like I said, I'm 3 years full entrepreneur life, right?
Congratulations.
Left my agency job.
We used to work at the same place.
We used to work at the same place.
We didn't know it was a teacher.
Yeah. And I had to go. That's where to put it. I had to go. And it was, my mental health was being affected.
Yep.
Like, it was taking a toll. Like, my husband can tell you. I remember there was one night, I was probably in bed with 2 laptops.
What?
I'm not even triggerous. That's not triggerous, right?
Don't be traumatized me, girl.
I just know, right, that it was a high stress environment. And work had to get done. It didn't matter, right? But the difference now, even when I leave my team, I'm happy to say that my team has grown from 1 to 6 over the last 3 years, and no one has left.
That's super impressive.
Right? No one has left, but a big part of that is because I create space for feelings. Like, you're human still. Like, you come to work with your stuff. And then we're in mental health practice. How do I look not creating space for that.
Like other spaces.
Like other.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if your boss tends to be more complainer than like solution oriented?
That's a good question.
I think, so how do you approach, like, if you're reporting to someone that is,
No, yeah, so let's say you have like a supervisor, right?
Mhm.
Or like a department leader,
Mhm.
and they tend to be a complainer as opposed to saying, okay, I know that this is the problem,
Mhm.
but here's how we could solve it.
yeah,
How would you rank that?
how would you address that?
Yeah,
I
like in
think,
terms of like,
I think the biggest thing here would be people, give people space to vent, but at some point, we also have to produce results, right? So there's a difference between, I'm finding resources for you, I'm connecting you to the things that you need to do, and then you're just stuck, right? And I'm saying, here's our next steps, here's how I'm gonna support, right? Because even in my own job, when I used to supervise, I had to teach people, coach people, right? This is the support, here's our layout, here's our plan, but here's the support that I'm gonna give you, but then I'm gonna follow up with you. So now the ball's also in your court, right?
exactly.
So if you're not, I think creating a dynamic, if you're the supervisor, creating the dynamic, right? But if you're on the flip end, sometimes you just gonna have to do your job and then leave the rest, right? Because you can't change a person that's not ready to change,
Yeah.
right? Depending on where somebody is, when we look at the stages of change, if someone's in denial, if they're in pre-contemplation, they're not ready to make the step. So no matter how much you push them, no matter how much you tell them to do something, they're not ready to budge. And so that's where you would say as an employee, you're either making a decision to switch teams, to leave your job, right? Because the fit is not a good fit for you. Or you just push through and leave everything else and go to therapy and vent to your therapist about what's happening with your boss.
Could I say one thing?
Yeah.
Part of me wants to say that it's true. Another part of me wants to say it's a myth. Because I think, like, as a leader, there's a difference between sharing, like, how I feel about what's happening at work versus kind of like dumping on my the person, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah, like that's what.
Yeah.
I have situations where, say something that was out of our control, and I'm like, fuck with her because it's a time to feel that way.
Yeah.
But I'm also not gonna tell her like, this is how it makes me feel. I'm gonna go home and cry about it because you really needed that grant.
Right. No, but that, I think there's boundary setting, right? There's this type of things that you're gonna do with, in an employee setting, depending on how it's setting the people. You have to know the type of person you're working with,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't know the type of person that you're working with, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So I say if you're ever going into a position, learn the lay of the land. Watch people, observe, right? See how people are interacting. When someone, who's the one that's coming to you telling you all the tea before, like all of the different things, right? So you know how to actually engage with the people that you work with. And that even goes as an entrepreneur, as you invite new people into your circle, don't quickly disclose everything so quickly. Take time, learn people's characteristics, learn how they show up, and give a little as you trust. As you realize, okay, the trust is here, okay, I can give a little bit more, and I can give a little bit more. But you, off the back, we're not gonna just do everything and say everything, for sure.
That's good. How we feeling? Are we good?
Yeah. Therapy and counseling are only for people with serious mental illness.
No.
Man.
Right? So, for a very long time, this was the case, right? This is the assumption that was made. And I would also say therapy and counseling is for only people initially we saw it a certain way, right? So when you watch movies, what did you see? Someone laying on the couch, someone in a straight jacket, right? That's what you saw. You hadn't seen different facets of therapy, and then you also didn't see a lot of clinicians that looked like us,
Yeah.
right? And so to have that conversation, to have someone that can connect with you culturally, can speak to those things, so you don't have to over-explain some things, right? But also you were finding people that you could connect with. And so I'm an advocate for finding the right fit for therapy. Your first try may not be the best try, right? And you may go through, and there's questions that you ask. There's things that you ask. There's things that you have to have and know about what are your key components that you want in a therapist, right? So if you got mommy issues, do you want a therapist that resembles an older woman? It may be beneficial for you eventually, but are you at this space where you can actually tolerate that to receive from the person? Probably not.
That's real. I never know about that.
Right? Same thing. If you have father issues and you have a male therapist, you might be closed off the whole first 3-6 sessions, and you're like, it's not working. It's not that it's not working, you just haven't found the right fit.
It's like therapy is like dating.
It is. You gotta find the right fit.
Dating.
You gotta find the right fit. And even as you find the right fit, there are stages your therapist might go through with you that they can help with, and then they might have to be not the person for you in certain other seasons because they can't help you through that, and that's okay. But it also takes a mature therapist to understand, like, hey, this is not a good fit for me. So not every client that comes through our practice do I say yes to. And I don't even do intakes no more. My office manager does it, and she will look through, and she will see everything, and she'll be like, she'll look and she'll line up everything, and she'll like, I don't think this person's a good fit. When we meet on Friday, she'll be like, what do you think about this? Here's what they said, here's the form they filled out. I'm like, it's not a good fit for us. Let's refer out. Right? So not every client is gonna be a good fit for a therapist as well, because say I'm full and one of you come to therapy, but my clinician, her thing that she cannot work with based on her own trigger set is the thing you're asking for. I'm doing you a disservice by pairing you with her just because she has a right? And so therapy, finding a therapist is like dating.
Some if you got a one night stand, you got your weekend day, and then you got, you know, the day that you like do for a year, and then you got somebody, oh, I proposed to, and oh, okay, we married.
It's a learning skill. You gotta learn, you figure it out, you go through it, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna stick with this person. I'm gonna start, not really rocking with you. I would say by session 6, you know, yes or no.
That's good.
Go ahead. If you have a mental health issue, you're stuck with it forever.
Forever.
I don't like the word stuff.
Forever. You
Yeah,
use
I
a
don't
trick
like
word.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You gonna get me though.
Stuck with it forever.
Yeah, stuff is can we take that word out of
No,
our
issue. Because I know like mental health illness could be a lifelong experience.
Yeah.
But an issue could be for a season.
I feel like the word issue is temporary.
Right. The word issue is temporary. The word forever is subjective. And
So if we're
stuck is
using
stuck.
exactly, so if we're using that, you know,
Stuck is the middle child.
right? Because we have forever and issue. We got those two, but stuff, I don't know.
You're right. So it's the words. It's the play on the words.
Okay.
Issue and stuff, right? So no, right? This is not true. Right?
Okay.
However, if a person has a mental health illness that might be biologically also a thing that runs in their family, right? Then we're learning how to cope with that for a lifetime process, right? And navigate that. So that may look a little different. That's something that's where it's like a little bit more severe, right? And so we're talking about like personality disorders. We're talking about like bipolar, schizophrenic, schizotypal, right? Things that y'all probably like, I don't know what that is, right? Because there's psychiatric diagnoses that are also attached to that you have to be on medication because there's a biological component that's affecting your imbalances and it's sending neurotransmitters, do all the things, and you're not yourself. Right?
And I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Are some biological illnesses, are all biological illnesses hereditary? Or can you be like the first in your lineage to start it?
I've never gotten that question. And I'm gonna say I don't know, because I'm always a component of saying I don't know.
I appreciate that. That's good.
I think because what I will say is predominantly, because it's hard, right? Because sometimes you might be the first in your family diagnosed with something, but if you look back, you might be able to pinpoint somebody that had similar symptoms. We just didn't have a name for it.
Okay.
It's so new, and the words are really like growing every single day. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Right? And so in the words, honestly, the DSM, it changes. We are DSM-5, TSR at this point.
What's that?
It's the diagnostic manual that clinicians use to give you a diagnosis. So if you go to therapy, you have to get a diagnosis if you're using insurance. There's no way around it, right? And so part of that is clinicians have to find the proper diagnosis to give you. And so that's why we say to people all the time, in my practice, initially when we started, I wasn't taking insurance because I didn't like to stigmatize people, right? My thing is people were already struggling with the stigma of mental health. And so here it is now, I label you with the diagnosis for insurance purposes, and you think because now you're labeled with this, you walk around and start to claim it like you said earlier, right? Instead of trying to do the thing to actually work through it or follow through on your homework or do certain things that were helping you to kind of navigate and do throughout the process. Go to the next slide. Okay, so we're gonna talk about what is mental health, right? It's one of my lovely clinicians. Mental health is a person's cognitive, so your thoughts going all day, right? We entrepreneurs got them going from the moment we wake up to probably when we sleep in our subconscious all the time. Then we have behavioral, so the response and behaviors, right? I like to actually put this as your ability to self-soothe and cope. Because when that's impaired, then we start to see symptoms of certain diagnoses come up a little bit more, right? So can you soothe yourself and cope through the things that you're going through? I see this all the time with couples. When we do couples work, one person is like hot up here, and the other person is like running away, right? Each of them have to find their own ways to self-soothe. Each of them have to find their own ways to come back to communicate effectively. And people say, it's hard, but you do it at work. When you have a 9 to 5, you do it all the time, right? It's just that you're a little bit more comfortable with your partner. And so they see everything, and then you just retreat or you fight. One of the two, right? And so that's behavioral. And then we have emotional well-being, our feelings. So earlier, we asked everybody to say, how are you feeling, right? That's part of your mental health. You can go to the next slide. So I got a little feelings wheel up here. Right? And so I always say to my clients when they come in our session, I'm like, how are you feeling? Don't tell me good, don't tell me bad, because those are not feeling words. They're not.
So I can't say I'm feeling good?
No.
You can say it, but I'm saying it's not a feeling word. Right?
That's why I say later.
Right? And so I ask clients, because sometimes one of the things that we're working with is just lacking emotional intelligence around certain words to find the words how you feel. So what can happen is someone is severely depressed, right? And they can't tell you what they feel. They can't tell you what they need, right? And so if we don't start with the words, right, that match what we're feeling, how are we ever gonna get support or get help or ask for help? Because I'm good, I'm fine.
And you're not.
And you're not.
Yeah.
And we say it all the time just because of the simple fact that we don't really want to get in a conversation with small talk with you. Because we're really entrepreneurs, you gotta know what's on our head. So you have good clients, it's great. But where are you? Right? Really checking in with yourself. And so you literally can Google this feeling wheel and look for it yourself. But I tell clients when they struggle to even look at this, I said, do you feel comfortable right now or do you feel uncomfortable? Let's start there. And if you can start there, then we can figure out the rest of the world. And so here you have on the feeling wheel comfortable emotions, so accepted, confident, interested, excited, loving. And then you have uncomfortable emotions, afraid, embarrassed, angry, sad. So I typically will give people, when they come into session, they either have it already on their phone or it's on screen. And I'm like, where we at today? How we doing? Pick a word.
And don't worry, y'all, we're gonna get this deck in our email.
Yeah,
Oh, because I was literally about to snatch
You're gonna get it, don't worry.
Question.
Yes.
Is it normal for people to feel like polar opposites?
Yes.
Like they come in and feel,
Two feelings can coexist at the same time.
even if they're like the polar opposite?
So I can feel
Happy and sad at the same time?
You can feel happy and sad at the same time.
You can
Like,
feel
happy.
passionate and bored.
Yeah, at the same time.
and it'll be okay.
Because it might be cool in the two different areas of life, right? And so if we go back to our 8 dimensions of wellness, right? You are having different dimensions. You have your mental health, you have your physical, you have family, social, you have occupational, you have financial, right? Those are just 5. Y'all can Google the rest, right? But if you look at that, I may have a different feeling in each of those categories about where I'm at, right? And so 2 things can coexist at the same time. That's okay. So when you look at this, it's how do you feel about your struggles, your family, your losses, your pressures, right? Because those are the things that most entrepreneurs are going through, right? It's where are we struggling in our business, right? If it's not that, it's how is our family being affected by our business, right? Our losses. Losses doesn't mean particularly just traditional grief of a physical loved one, but you lose things in entrepreneurship. You lose friendships. Friendships change. Your circles switch up, right? You lose.
Everybody got a couple of
Right? You lose other things. Like so in the beginning, if you first starting out, sometimes if you're transitioning from a 9 to 5, you might be losing a little bit of stability. Right? Because you're trying to figure out your own process. It may take some time. Some people recover within a few weeks, some people months, some people years, right? And then if you are in between, if you're still working a 9 to 5 and you're pursuing your entrepreneurship business as a part-time thing, then you have a loss of time. Because you're trying to fit everything in and you only got 24 hours in a day, but you told yourself that you have more than that because everyone on TikTok and Instagram,
Get out my
you gotta
business.
do A, B, C, D, but that don't work for you because that's not how you're wired. Then you have to say, our feelings, I always say this, our feelings are indicators to what we need and how we function. So if you want to think about feelings, what do you need and how do you need to function? Go to the next slide.
Oh my Lord.
So needs. Like I said, y'all read the slide. What has been threatened for you? What do you need? Right? And so, do you need individuality, safety, growth, or relationship?
Do I need individuality,
really new to me.
safety, growth,
Yeah, I can't wait to
or
get this
relationship?
slide.
Can you give an example? So like,
Yeah. So, individuality,
Right.
right? Do you need space? Like, are you feeling overwhelmed because you're trying to push somebody else's idea out and you're not giving yourself space to move with what's going in your mind? You need individuality. You need to be able to create the thing that you have versus the thing that you're being told to do. And so that happens with entrepreneurs. If you're in companies like, I know you said you do branding, marketing, right? Maybe some of what you might do might not be a match to where you see your business going, but you're taking it right now because it's producing income.
yes, and I cut a lot of it off in September of 2023, and we lost 80% of our clients, but the 20% that we kept actually was more than enough, and that's like 5-10 people.
Yeah.
Kept us, not kept us alive, but keeps us alive, you know, because like
Yeah.
we don't need like a high volume.
Right.
So it's very
And so saying yes, like I said earlier, right? I don't have to say yes. My practice does not have to say yes to every client.
yeah,
Because every client is not a match to the avatar of my practice.
exactly.
Right? And so safety. Do you need to feel safe? Right? You feel sad? Is the sadness connected to the fact that you actually don't feel like you have anybody to confide to that can help you feel secure?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm reading this diagram right,
Yeah.
the nucleus, that white area, is
Yep.
how I feel,
Uh-huh.
and everything coming out of it is the words to describe how I'm feeling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So safety is connected. Safety, are you looking for order, peace, trust, stability, fairness, consistency, boundaries? Right? That's connected to safety.
It's good.
Security.
Right?
Good, y'all.
Relationship. Do you need a relationship?
Yes.
Yeah.
You cannot do entrepreneurship by yourself.
No.
Even if you are a solo entrepreneur, you still have to be in communities like this.
Yeah.
Because that.
I have a question, right? So I believe that every entrepreneur, like, as you're growing in your career, gaining new skills, entering new circles,
Yeah.
there's this gap that you're different from your old friends,
Mhm.
but then you're not exactly like the people that you're reaching towards, right?
Mhm.
So there's like this in between.
Mhm. Mhm.
How do I describe that?
is what you just said. In between.
Yeah.
In between phase, like you're in between. Okay, so, and I understand that, right? Like, okay, and this is connecting. When I became a therapist, I didn't have other therapist friends, right? So the way that and the one thing they tell you when you go to school is don't start therapizing everybody. But it's the first thing that you do. Because your mind is just like, I'm learning all these terms, oh, that's why this person acting this way. That's why this way. Right? You start seeing your glasses look completely different than everybody else. It's the same thing when you come to therapy. When you come to therapy, I tell people, it's okay. The first few months, even after you get into this, you're going to start to now expect these things out of everybody else around you, but they're not in therapy, so they don't see the things the way that you see. The level of awareness is not there no more. The language isn't there, right? And so you got to give yourself space. So there is going to be an in-between process, but doesn't mean that you're less of a person. It doesn't define you, right? It's just that you have a support structure, you have your friends that you're going to chop it up with, and that you have friends that might look like mentors initially because you're trying to like, I always say success leads clues, right? And so if success is going to lead clues, I'm following the person that got the tools, right? Because if there's something that I can avoid, why not avoid it? Right? And then there's some things you're going to just have to learn the hard way. So I think that's just being in the in-between. Any other questions about this?
I can't wait to have it in my possession.
So thinking about what you need, like I want everyone to walk away and ask yourself, what do I need more of? It might not be that you need it because you have it, but you need more of something on this list.
I have a question.
Yeah.
About what you're saying now about needing more. Because I fall into a cycle of identifying the more that I need and then feeling some type of way because it might be hard to attain. And then I start to feel sad that it's so hard. And so I'm just like, the way I'm moving on the spectrum, like, I guess you might address this later on, but like, how do I keep from spiraling downward just because I'm learning that I need growth? You know what I mean?
Right. So you need growth, but doesn't mean that we jump off the cliff and we're like 10 years from now, right? So I would say, what is the baby steps that you take to get to that growth opportunity?
Without feeling sad.
Without feeling, you might feel sad though. And that's the thing with feelings. Going back to the feelings, right? We gotta sit with our feelings. We gotta sit with them. The thing is just not to sit too long in them and not move, right? But sit long enough to collect and be mindful, right, of what you actually are needing in the moment, so you can make a more conscious decision or plan more effectively. Right? So if I say I need growth and I'm looking to what's the one thing?
I'm building out a team.
Okay.
I see me on the tripod, I'm getting what I'm doing. I need a team.
So I need to grow a team, right? You don't gotta grow to 10 people right away. Find your one. Find your one that's gonna rock with you, that's gonna be behind the scenes, that's gonna learn the things. And that even is a step. That's a huge step. So the steps in between that might be, I need to figure out who am I looking for? That's your first thing. Don't even think about nothing else. Who are you looking for? And you can't say someone like you. Right? So, no, because sometimes we feel like, if I just could replicate myself, things would be a lot better. But you can't, right? And so, whatever you do now, you're still gonna have to teach later. And so, the first thing would be, what are you looking for? Like, where do you actually need your support? Are there holes? Are there things that you no longer want to do? Are there things that you want more of, like more time to do? And so you need to put that other thing off to the side, right? Or are there things that you feel like, you know what, I like doing this, but I know that it's not where I'm supposed to be shining right now.
Right.
And then you find the person that is going to match you in that for your team.
Should you pray about your team?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You should be covering.
I think, so I always say, prayer is my number one thing, at least for me in my business, and it's helped me in every single decision process that I've made, and probably the sole reason why I still have the same people since I started.
What's the therapist equivalent to prayer? Is it meditation?
I would say meditation, right? When you say
affirmation.
therapist equivalent to prayer, what you mean?
Cause I don't think all therapists will be like, pray about it, right?
Yeah.
So if they can't tell their clients to pray about it,
What is the connection? So, okay, so I don't know if I had said this earlier, but my practice is predominantly a faith-based practice, right? However, I have clients that come in from all different backgrounds of faith, right? I even have atheist clients. And so it's all gonna be about spirituality, right? What if you have something that you identify with, right? If it's not spirituality and it's universal, then it's universal. So whatever it is to you in that moment of how you connect with a higher power or a lack of, whether it's not the higher power, it's the universe, whatever that is, that's what you plug into. But spirituality becomes a big part of the circle even when we look at human needs, right?
is it in there? Is it not?
It's not particularly in this circle, right? But when you look at your human needs of the different dimensions of wellness, the 8 dimensions, spirituality is one.
For the agnostic and the atheist, what do you say instead of praying?
For the agnostic and the atheist. Most of the time for those clients is what's in your thoughts, right? What is the thing that you are thinking about connected to the universe? Because that's most of them is it's going to be the universe, it's going to be connected to that. So really just having that conversation about like, what are you connected to? What draws strength for you? And for some of them, it's none of that, and it's just family. It's friends. And so then that's where they're weighing a lot of the decision, or people are influencing a lot of the decision. Because that's what they have as their source of community and support.
It's a good question.
Any other questions so far? Okay.
You killing it.
You are. She is killing me. Food for thought, y'all.
All right, so spectrum, right? I want y'all to always remember this word. It's a spectrum. When we think about mental health, it's a spectrum. So you have mental health, mental illness, right? So we all are on the spectrum, right? Think about it. When you were in school, well, at least when I was in school, right? When you had grade, like the classes, like maybe 801 to like 810, right? What did 801 mean and what did 810 mean?
You don't want to be
Right? And so it might have looked a little bit different, right? And so everything falls on the spectrum, even with your mental health, right? And so when you think about the positive side, right, of mental health that we know, what is your resiliency to stress? Can you bounce back, right? And I'm gonna also talk about something later on because in the Black community, resilience gets crossed off because you could still have resilience and full-blown mental health challenges. Right? So, flexibility. How flexible are you? Inflexible? Things are rigid, you can't do stuff, right? It gotta be the way that you need it to be. Optimism, right? Productive behavior. Are you productive? Self-confidence, empathy, respect for self and others, sense of belonging, and clear thinking, right? When these things coexist, we typically see that person not with a mental health diagnosis, right? When it's fully there. When these things start to decline, right, it starts to show up symptoms of mental health, right? And so we all can have symptoms of mental health, but not a full-blown mental health diagnosis or mental illness. When we look at mental illness, now we're in a space where you're pulling away from others, you're feeling numb, feeling helpless, hopeless, experiencing severe mood swings, thinking of harming yourself or others, inability to perform daily tasks for an extended period of time. Keeping extended period of time, right? And every diagnosis has its own criteria, right? For some diagnoses, you're gonna have to be going through the same thing for 6 months, back to back, right? No gaps to meet the criteria. For some of them, you are not there. You are 6 weeks, right? So it just depends on what the diagnosis is going to be for each thing that you're going through. But I always want you guys to remember, it's a spectrum. So the person that has schizophrenia, all of these things are gone. And add on some other stuff.
Okay. Okay, you gotta dumb it down for me a little bit. Yeah, like elementary, it's okay.
So for the person that has major depressive disorder,
Okay.
this is gone.
Okay.
None of that.
No resiliency,
No resiliency, no
No
flexibility,
They're only on
not
that side.
optimism,
Yeah.
right? No productive behavior.
Okay.
To the point now, they can't work, they can't function, they're getting in bed, not taking a shower. Gone, right? Self-confidence, out the window. Empathy, gone.
So none of that,
None of that,
but most of this.
yes.
Most, not all, but most.
Most. And there's way more, that list is just short.
Yes, yeah, I figured.
But this is all gone, and now we're veering towards this.
Okay, so well, for the spectrum, right? You're
Yes.
either on the left, in the middle, or on the right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's the same thing, if someone has, say a child is diagnosed with ADHD, or even an adult is diagnosed with, this is still a spectrum. You could be all the way to the right of the spectrum for ADHD, or you could be functioning in the middle and still have some symptoms of it, but not full blown.
Okay, so with this spectrum, well, there's no numbers, there's just left, right?
There's no, when you could put numbers, if you wanted to put numbers, the numbers would look like symptomology,
Okay.
right? So if you want to say, okay, maybe 4 symptoms, right? We're just experiencing depressive symptoms. Now we got up to 6. So in the DSM, there are like 5 categories. You have like A, B, C. Each category has to like check off 2 to maybe 5 things or 6 things, right? And so that's what we're using to say, okay, you actually have major depressive disorder. You actually have agoraphobia, which means you're not willing to leave your house to the point that you're scared, right? That something's gonna happen. And so thinking about that. Postpartum, right? Even that. And there's new ones. There are new diagnoses that are out now as well. And
Like
so,
new conditions?
Yes.
yeah, they're always,
And some things are taken off.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? Like I said earlier, the DSM is humans researching,
Right.
Yeah.
looking at data, and then being like, all right, this is this and this. We're gonna label this, right?
Wow.
And so there are some things that might be there, and all of a sudden they tell us 2 years from now we can't bill for that no more. It doesn't exist.
Like especially now with social media and digital.
I won't be surprised if there's a diagnosis in like 3 years for something with social media.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's definitely addiction.
No, I feel like
It's just because it didn't exist before, and they do it like every, what, 5,
Every
6?
5 years.
well, it's going to go. Social media is going to go. It's just going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be so outnumbered to like a lot of other things. I see it already.
Next slide.
You can go. They're gonna say something.
Oh yeah, I was curious to know like what's the oldest condition out?
I would have to
Crazy.
look that up.
Crazy, just crazy. Crazy. That's good.
I would probably say some of our personality disorders.
Okay.
I was thinking about anxieties.
Anxiety.
There's a lot of anxiety disorders because we
Yeah.
have things to be scared of, animals,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Animals
like
come to give
phobias.
us fear, phobias, yes.
Phobias.
Yep, anxieties and phobias, yes.
The phobias for sure, right? Because those are things that you just, people scared of getting elevators, people scared of heights.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like most of us are scared of snakes, but we never even see one in the city.
Yep.
Right.
And that's historically,
like,
yep,
that's
that's
definitely
historic, like
yeah.
historic trauma, so.
Yeah,
we-
it's like,
we-
okay, but you
yeah.
leave outside, you go in the outside world and you are in nature and you are scared, right?
Yeah.
So there, I would say phobias for sure, but all of the different things, like there's different pockets to mental health diagnoses, right? You have developmental, you have your depressive disorders, you have depressive and mood, I would say, then you have trauma, right? A response to trauma, so post-traumatic anxiety, right? There's a few other different ones, and then you have things that are just like your everyday things that you're dealing with on a regular basis from birth, right? So you can go to the next slide. All right, so I put some, you guys want to get this. So common mental health challenges, right? Depression, more than just feeling sad, right? It's a persistent condition that affects how you feel, think, and handle daily activities. So someone that's depressed, they're not just sad, they are no longer functioning, and all the things that I said on that side tend to be present, right? Or not present. And then they are not functioning at work, in their families, right? So we see it in occupation, we see it in our personal relationships. It's the first 2 things that typically go. So isolation. They're not talking to you. They're on your phone call. Right? You go over to the house, they answer the door.
We ain't gonna understand. Sorry.
Right. Right. Trying to figure it out, right? So that's depression. Anxiety. It's a general term. So I want to keep, because when we say anxiety, it's a general term. It's not a disorder, right? It's generalized, right? So you have social anxiety, which is you're afraid to be around people, right? But you find out the rest of the time. But just when you have to be around crowds, all right, that's too much for me.
That's what I had. I had it when I was, sorry to cut you off, my brother. I hate being cut off too. So when I was back a long time ago, I was like good in these spaces, right? And then next thing you know, for like the first time ever, like imagine 1,000 people being in here all at once.
Yeah.
I felt an anxiety attack for the first time in my life. I said, what is going on? I'm not like
Heart
this.
palpitations,
Right? I thought,
sweating.
girl, I don't have a heart attack.
Yeah.
It felt like it felt like
Yeah,
my thing was out of control.
Yeah.
And that's when I found out like, oh, I had an anxiety attack, so I can't be around too many people. Because it was a shock to me, because it's like, Psyche knows me, I'm very social, so like, 200 people in here, that's nothing. But when you add that one, it's like, oh, okay, I can't do that.
So my question was going to be related to that, right? So for like social anxiety, where does it come from? Because like he was good with people, but then he noticed in a certain scenario, oh man, I'm not. So how does that develop?
I won't generalize it, but I will say it's multiple things, right? It could be a trigger of something small. Doesn't always have to be huge. Sometimes we think triggers have to be these huge things, and they don't. I'm gonna give an example. There's someone that I know that anytime they smell a particular type of rice, they have a flashback.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So you're in an environment, and you just smell the rice, right? And you have a flashback.
Okay.
It triggers you. And if you don't know that that's a trigger for you, you can't.
You just be in the space.
You just in the space, and then you're like, wait, what just triggered me? What happened? What happened? But maybe something happened when you were a child, environment, and it was a trigger, right?
Oh.
And I just wanted to add to that. Like, I think it's also sometimes circumstantial. After the pandemic, obviously we were all in the house for like 2 years, and when the world opened back up, I had social anxiety. Like my sister was like, "Are you okay?" And I was not. Like it was very alarming. Not even a germ thing.
Yeah.
It was just like I've been with 3 people for 2 years, and now there are 200. It was just crazy, and it's something that I'm still experiencing.
But it's also a mind thing, right? Because I think, to piggyback off of what Nikki is saying, when I used to work with the juvenile population, right? So prior to one of my agency jobs, I used to work with the kids coming out of Rikers, right? And so one of the things that happens, conditioning can also play a role, right? And so I had youth that were coming out of Rikers, and now here they are. These are youth that have been in solitary confinement, right? And now you're putting them back in the classroom and you hover over them.
It messes
Right?
them up.
It messes them up, right? Because they're now in a different environment, so conditioning. So now we have to recondition to the new space that we're in.
So anxiety is a challenge, not a diagnosis.
Correct.
Okay, I like that because there's this study I was reading about like when you have a kid that's scared to play at the playground, you gradually expose them
Exposure
to
therapy, yeah.
exposure therapy, just like what you said with her. So like she trying to build a team, just first figure out who do you want.
Yeah, I say baby steps versus no steps. Take a baby step versus no steps, right? Because part of it, the anxiety is there, so it's going to cripple you, right? So if it cripples you, then what happens? You don't move, you can't breathe, you feel like you're dying.
Yes.
Right? All the things are happening. I've had clients that have had I had a client that had a full-blown panic attack in a vault at work. She used to work at a bank, right? And we discovered some trauma, like childhood trauma resurfaced while we were doing sessions, things that she had never remembered, right? And so now I had to prepare her. So there were several times where I would receive phone calls to coach her back to the space of you're not what happened to you. You're at work, you're in the vault, right? And so part of that can trigger people in different ways, and so it looks different. So you can be anxious. You can have the feeling of anxiousness. That's okay.
Yeah.
I was anxious before I got here, right? Because I had a very long day. And then I got excited. So the emotion can change. But it's okay to go through the different feelings and emotions that are existing. They're okay. Emotions are okay.
Okay, I got a question. One last question about
Yeah.
anxiety. Because I wear this hoodie a lot, right?
What does it say?
On the back it says your anxiety is lying to you.
Okay.
And somebody asked me, how do I know that's true? And I didn't have the language to explain why I know anxiety is false.
Yeah.
Do you have language to use?
Yes. Okay. So.
Anxiety is false because.
Yes. Your anxiety is telling you that you cannot do something or cannot achieve something before you have even done it. Right? For some people, they will feel it's true because of past situations and experiences. Right? But who is to say that the situation is going to play out in the same exact way? Right? There's so many possibilities of where things can go. And so part of the anxiety of the moment is I have to understand that where I'm at is not where I will be. Right? I have to understand that my past experiences and failures do not dictate the present, right, or my growth as well, and what I'm capable of. Because sometimes you're super capable of something, but the anxiety will, and it's a mixture. Sometimes it's not anxiety, sometimes it's just the limiting beliefs and like the negative thoughts that you're telling yourself from childhood and from other people that attach yourself to the anxiety, and then that's what's
Understood.
so sometimes you break through the anxiety, but the next thing that comes up is all the negative thoughts and the limiting beliefs.
Is because I can't wait to get to China, Bill. Yeah, I got it. You know, to make this answer quick is I hope it's not is anxiety and PTSD synonymous?
That's a good question. They're cousins. They are.
They're cousins.
We call them cold disorders.
So
Sometimes
sleeping debt,
cold
sleeping
things
debt.
that exist, right? So PTSD, you can have anxiousness and fear creep up, but your diagnosis is PTSD because of the stimuli that is your trigger for the trauma.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Nikki?
About anxiety, I've heard somebody explain that if you're feeling anxious, you're either thinking about the past or the future, not the present.
Not the present.
Like you're worried about something in the past or you're worried about something in the future, which both of those things
don't got nothing to do.
Don't got nothing to do with the hair.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, don't have anything to do with the hair and
Somebody write that down.
Right? So past and future, right? But look where you at.
Right.
Right? That's where you're at. Right? And so where you're at, that's where you gotta lock in and focus. But you can't focus over here or focus over here. But sometimes you need to go over here because over here is affecting what you're doing here.
Right.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I'm also a Christian.
Yeah.
And when I would walk with Christ, a lot of the times, I mean, I'm a new believer. I mean, I've always, thank you. Well, renewed. I feel like, you know, Westerners are, we don't, thank you. But in this walk, there's so much focus, and historically has been so much focus on the enemy. And it's like, how does that, like, because, like, I feel like the church mom would be like, you know, you don't got no anxiety, and the pressure, that's the enemy is happening. So it's like, a lot of I think in spirituality believe that.
It's a big conversation.
How do, I don't even know how to necessarily, like, articulate the question, but where's the correlation between anxiety, depression, and the enemy? And how does that, like, exist?
That is loaded, and I can maybe do a lot for you on that, but that is loaded. Okay, what I would say, I'm trying to do this real quick. You have your spirituality, right? What you believe about your spiritual being, right? not necessarily your relationship with God, right? Your spiritual being, so spirituality. Right? Everybody has a different experience in regards to their spiritual story. Then you have your belief about God. So you can be a Christian and walk through life and have a belief that God is a God of judgment. And then every decision you were making is through that lens of God is a God of judgment. But if you believe that God is a God of judgment, but he's also a good father, that changes some of your perspective and worldview around how you view God. Now you have the enemy, right? So if you understand Satan, Scripture says that Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Right? And so I often say to clients, if that is the case, currently, what are you also interacting or allowing him to participate and steal, kill, and steal from you as well? Right? Because there are some doors that we open. Right? So it's one thing where it's like, and then there's the generational side. Right? So this is layered, right? Because you have generational things and you have, Scripture has principles. Everything in Scripture that is there's a principle that comes out of it. And that principle says, if this thing happens, then this will happen, right? And so generationally, our parents and our families can go through stuff, do stuff. Scripture says, your decisions are not just going to affect you, but affect several generations behind you. And so today, you may have made a decision. Same thing if you just think about consequences, right? There are good consequences and there are bad, right? And so it gets reinforced. So now I do something that's considered a sin or in covenant with something that I'm not supposed to be in covenant with. I don't see the product of that in my current generation, in myself. But my grandchildren reap the benefits or the lack thereof down the line. And so that's when people were in the Christian faith, we're talking about working through principalities and generational stuff, right, that are connecting because you're fighting against a spiritual thing that had nothing to do actually with you, but maybe your grandfather, your great-great auntie, or somebody else that opened up another door in some way, shape, or form, right? And so that can look different over time for every person. And so I say to clients, Satan, yes, has a role in how he's always trying to figure out and navigate, like, distraction and do stuff, but you also have power. Right? And so if you have power, going back to what you believe, what you stand on, right? If you're believing that Scripture says that you are ahead and not below, if you're above and not behind, right, at the tail, then that's how you're walking through everyday life. That's what you're gonna see. Right? Because the people that don't have no faith background and they just use affirmations to push them through, they literally do the same thing. Right? The only difference is that you're now saying your affirmation is coming from Scripture. And so that's rooting you in as you walk through everyday life, as you talk through things, and you're finding ways like, okay, God, I see this is happening, right? But you said, I go through it too. Like, this is not me as a therapist, right? But me as just Janelle. I will be like, Father God, you said, you told me to. So when I left, I'm like, Lord. So I already knew. I played a role. Yes, here I am. I'm stressed. He gives me the decision, free will and choice. I don't have to be stressed. God, I'm stressed. You said I'm your daughter. You said I would never lack. You said that you've provided for the birds. They don't gotta look for nothing. So why am I stressed? What am I looking for? Show up and provide. Like, that's literally how I talk to God. Right?
That's good.
And then I have the moments where I'm also like, Father, like, this is hard. I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I'm crying. And I also remember that you said that you are near to the brokenhearted. So show up for me, whether it's through friends, family, whatever. Right? So I think the placement of Scripture and the placement of using that to help navigate your mental health challenges, because everybody, I could go on and talk about maybe 10 different people in the Bible having mental health challenges. But God was still walking with us. Right? And so understanding how those two things connect for you, but it also goes back to, like I said, what is your belief about who God is to you? And if you, sometimes what also happens, if you have a negative viewpoint of your physical father here on earth, you will struggle with the element of God the Father, right? Spiritually.
Sounds like the sergeant.
So, all right, so,
Thank you.
we can connect and I can talk to you more about
my, I guess, pain point currently right now is burnout.
Yes.
Especially in my line of work, it's very seasonal.
Yeah.
And the holidays were excruciating, but in a positive way, because you know, people need money.
Mm-hmm.
With being an entrepreneur, obviously there are no days off. How does one, A, combat burnout while still needing to get things done? B, this is gonna sound so dumb and I kind of know the answer anyway, but is there any way to expedite the process? Because we got things to do.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, how do I navigate my burnout while still being productive? And how do I just like, or I'm sure you'll share some tools maybe with, you know, what am I trying to say? Like, how do I chill out while still getting things done, pretty much?
Yeah. Okay. So stress and burnout. Everybody in this room has been stressed and has dealt with burnout at some point, right? And when it comes to burnout and there's all of this mental exhaustion that you're having, you have to, as an entrepreneur, prioritize rest as much as you prioritize work. And what I know, it probably sounds like that's crazy, but it's the truth, right? Like, if you do not carve out time for yourself, you cannot produce anymore. Your business does not produce anymore, right? And so one of the biggest things that I learned from my coach, and one of the books, the 12-week work year, right, is looking at where are you high in low seasons. You know you're gonna work, push through. Intentionally have something to look forward to. So if it's like, all right, November, December, January is your hard season, you need to plan intentionally to rest in February, right? Because you know you're gonna go through for those 3 months straight. Now, what does that mean for your business? Does that mean you need to raise your prices so that you can do that? And then we go to the limiting belief, because most people will be like, well, ain't nobody gonna pay for my stuff if I raise the prices.
Janelle, get out of our business.
Or, ain't no, and so the thing is, do it. The person that's for you will find you.
Right.
I just said that. Right?
Yeah, what if I don't have any employees? Because I don't.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. When I say plan, right, let's just say, and this is the thing, even though I have employees, that don't mean nothing, because my employees are getting paid before I get paid.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
So that doesn't mean
Payroll and rent.
Or they're not working.
Or they're not working, right? So I have to plan. Like, literally, you have to sit, if you have to sit and do a planning session and look at your numbers and say, okay, how many clients do I need to take from this time to this time that does not only sustain me, but give me extra cushion for the following months, right? And that's why I said maybe, because it may not mean that you can do more work. It may mean that you just need to change your numbers. And that's what's gonna give you the extra money, right? And so you gotta kind of think about what does those pieces look like. And everybody's business structure will be different for what that looks like. I take 3 vacations a year, right? The only way that's possible is because of planning. I know when the slow season for therapy is, and I know when the high season for therapy is. I have to be intentional about that, and I can't be like, oh, I'm not showing up to work today because I don't want to work today. Right? It has to be, if I have goals to look forward to, and I know that this is the thing that's happening, I'm looking forward to that goal, and so I'm like, it's all right, you got vacation in 3 weeks, or you got vacation in 2 months, it's okay, right? So, or what is the small thing that I can do now to rejuvenate myself? It may not be huge. You may not be able to get to the full vacation that you have in 3 months or in 6 months, but the small thing that you can do is every Thursday, you say, you know what, I am going to start later because I need to rest, and I'm not sleeping, and my body is taking a toll, right? Or is there a small thing that you can do in terms of what you're eating that's going to give you more energy in your body, right? Because burnout is not just emotional, it's also physical burnout. And if you're not fueling your body right, you will burn out regardless on either end. Right? And so assessing where you are, I would say, done, and then making a plan for what rest can actually look like. Rest doesn't have to be huge, it can be small. It can say, every 3rd weekend, I am not, so every other Saturday I don't take clients. That was intentional. In the beginning, I had 6 clients every Saturday because we in private practice.
Right.
But after a while, I was like, no. And they got with the program because they was like, oh, we want to work with you. So I said, okay, right? But I have to set the boundary. If you don't, I wrote this on the slide, if you don't set the boundary, other people will walk over it. And then people will not respect your boundaries.
You're doing good, girl. From woman to other profession to another. But I did want to add something, right? Like, I feel like stress is unavoidable, but burnout is absolutely preventable.
Yes.
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 Okay, yeah.
It is absolutely preventable.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's to remember that, like, we do not all have to burn out. Like, you do.
tired.
Yes, you do not have to get to the point where you cannot move your body.
Yes.
Another thing, if you don't sit down, your body will sit your ass down at some point. When you will try to get up and you physically can't get up. You cannot form a sentence. You can't do this. People, have been there. And
My dad would be like, "We're done."
yeah. And one other thing, just speaking to the like, when do you resting or how you sustain yourself? As a full-time entrepreneur who just decided to go ahead and give a little birth.
Not a little bird.
A little birth, right here, evidence. I stopped doing almost every role outside of teaching in July. Still pregnant, and I was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I don't feel like it. And I sustained myself. Why? Yes, I had already had a plan in my head to get pregnant. And now I'm an only child, so of a single mom. So also I'm very much aware that there's no one's gonna come from the sky and be able to take care of me. Yes, I'm in a relationship, but the way I was able to sustain myself is I saved money. I said, you know what? This is what I need to do so that I can take this break. So I worked. So I was out here in the summer, working pregnant, right? But working like 5 different roles, and I'm gonna go here and work with these kids on this day. I was working in Rikers, pregnant. Working in Rikers pregnant is a little weird, a little weird. Some people there, but whatever, what I'm saying. Wow. But did those things, and everyone looked at me crazy when I said, "Oh, I'm not working anymore."
Yeah, you had a plan.
I said, I'm not working anymore, and my mother was like, "What you mean?" And I said, because I have X amount of money in my business account, X amount of money in my personal savings account, and this will keep me afloat. And then I said to the universe, come January, sprinkle a little something.
Yeah.
And a little something got sprinkled in January, meaning, a little sprinkle, meaning like I'm now preparing for new roles that will be coming up.
Yeah.
But I did not want during that time.
Yeah.
And as far as vacations, I take still 4, 5. If a friend calls and say you want to go somewhere, I'm like, yeah, girl, I do. And I have a child, and now that means I might be taking her too, and that's what it is. Passport came in the mail yesterday.
Yeah.
But all that to say,
That's right.
right? The baby passports can't say. But all that to say is that yes, like that room will be made for you if that is what you desire. That whole don't sleep is for the birds. Like, do not do that to yourself. There is no hustle 24/7. You see what those people look like. Skin ain't glowing like this. You know what I'm saying? I'm 41. And I'm just saying, that is coconut oil and sleep. Okay? Coconut oil and sleep. We need that. We need it. We have to prioritize it.
Yeah.
So that like I said, girl, you doing good. I just speak on up.
Yes.
Like,
No, I love
you
that you
need
said
to
that.
go to sleep. You gotta rest. Yeah. We can't live off of trying to make money.
Yeah.
Because that's not why I don't believe I'm alive to try and make money. That's
a capitalist thought.
Yeah.
I'm not out here.
And capitalism
I'm not out here
is
for that.
anti-black, so we could keep going on that.
Yeah.
I hate to be that girl, but we have to go to the next.
I know. That's how I'm saying. It's okay.
Trauma. He wasn't trauma. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm saying one line of grief and loss, like I said earlier, does not only mean physical loss of someone, it's also the loss of opportunities, the loss of time, the loss of relationships, the loss of your schedule, your routine, right? The pandemic, most people lost their routine because you were going commuting to work, and now you're like, wait, I'm home and I'm working, I'm sitting at this computer the whole time, and they got access to me a little bit longer than I used to, right? Loss of routine, right? So all of that is considered grief and loss as well, and things that you have to work through. Evelyn, go to the next slide. All right, so practical coping, right? We're gonna go straight through this. Journaling, deep breathing, setting boundaries, seeking support, mindful eating, and movement. Good. Journaling. People say, I don't know how to journal. Where do I start? Either brain dump or find an active guide or journal prompts to use. That's the best way. If you are not with a therapist yet, and they're not giving you active homework or things to think about in journal, start with just dumping your day with all the thoughts that's going on. If you are a person that is consumed with your thoughts all the time and you feel anxious, just literally write whatever is in your brain on a piece of paper and see how you feel about it. That's brain dumping, okay? Guided with prompts, you go to the next slide. You won't get this, I gave you a plethora.
Don't get this, don't get
Look
this.
at that.
This is like 6-10 sessions worth of therapy prompts.
This is so free.
Right?
Y'all might have to tip you.
There's
What
two
is
slides.
your
Right.
There's another one we got.
More. They got
There's more, okay?
slides.
So, and now we'll address everything from feelings to understanding your emotions to
Wow.
reflecting on past experience to envisioning the future. And I kept it in mind of you being an entrepreneur. Okay? So,
We appreciate it.
we'll
Consider it.
deep breathing, right? Nikki just left, but Nikki does live and move, right? And one of the things we'll do is guided meditation, right? And talk about the importance of breathing. So often we are not breathing. We are like, "Oh, I gotta do this. Let me go do this, right? But you're not taking deep breaths. Do you know what it means to take a deep breath? From your diaphragm area.
Yes, the gut.
Right, the gut,
The gut,
right?
yeah.
But we take a lot of shallow breaths. And one of the key things to help treat anxiety, different forms of it, is breathing. And people will be like, oh, that don't work for me. You probably ain't doing it the right
I'm
way.
breathing over.
Or you're not doing it the right way at all. Or you haven't found a form of breathing technique that works for you, right? And there are several.
I read this quote on the internet, and it said, the only thing you need to be is breathe. Like, and it changed my life. Like, all you need to do to exist and take up space is to take a deep breath, and that's the evidence that you are doing a good job. Like,
Yeah.
so.
And so here I have deep breathing. We're gonna do it real quick. Everybody close your eyes. I want you to inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. I want you to hold it for 5 seconds. And I want you to exhale through your mouth for 6 seconds.
I feel like that was just fun.
Okay?
I got a little.
Right?
Yeah.
It felt good.
Right? It felt good.
Let's do it one more time. We got time for one more.
Do it one more time.
Oh, that is top.
One more time.
Actually, I'm gonna do a different one.
Okay.
There's another one that's called muscle relaxation. So everybody close your eyes. I want you to place your feet firmly on the ground. So make sure your feet are on the ground. You can feel the ground. I want you to tense up the muscles with your calves and then your feet. You feel that? You feel what that tension feels like? Now tense up your butt area, your buttocks, and your abdomen. Feel that tension. Tense up your shoulders. Make a fist with your hands. Feel that tension. I want you to hold that. Hold the tension from the floor all the way up to your shoulder, your head, your neck, your arms, your feet, your fist. And now I want you to just blow it out through your mouth. Okay? So we just did the 4-5-6, which is also called the box breathing technique, and what we just did was the muscle relaxation technique. You can do that. Typically when I'm doing muscle relaxation with clients, I'm starting with one area. I just did a quick version with y'all. I'm starting with one area, they're tensing, they hold, they release. Then we move to the next area, tense, you hold, you release. So starting with the lower part of your body, your midsection, and then the top part of your body. I did a retreat last year, we were on the ground, outside. It was a grounding moment, but it also helped them breathe and really release all the tension that they were feeling, okay? So deep breathing. Make sure y'all are breathing from your gut. There you go. Next slide. Setting boundaries. Okay? Okay? To prevent burnout, we gotta set the boundaries, right? And so we gotta plan and set the boundaries. And so boundaries are spoken sometimes. For us, as entrepreneurs, they are spoken. They in your contracts.
Yeah.
They in your lettering. They're in your emails. They're in your text messages. And you say them to your clients. I do not work on Saturdays. Okay, well then I need to find a day that works on your schedule. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I do not work after this time. Okay, I have 2 late evenings that I work. Don't catch me any other day. I do not work on Friday evenings because you want to be outside. I want to be outside too. Okay, so figure out what Say no. Say no is a full statement. No, I cannot show up. No, that actually is not a good fit for my business. No, I can't help today, not tomorrow, not next week. No, it's a full sentence. Boundaries with your time. You have to have boundaries with your time first. If you are violating your boundaries every day, nobody else is going to respect yours. So check yourself first. If you told yourself from this time to this time you was going to work on something and you didn't do it, if you hire somebody, don't expect them to follow you. Right? Because you're mad and they watching you.
That's a fact. Yeah.
They're seeing what you're saying and what you're not doing.
That's how children learn.
Right? So set your own boundaries with yourself. And I said stop violating your own boundaries and wanting people to honor. So that's boundary setting. Next slide. Support. Family and friends, therapy groups, common interest groups, mastermind groups. One of my biggest, and probably would help me to leave my job, was the mastermind group I was part of during the pandemic. And when I say, I wrote my resignation letter on a trip. I took a trip to Independent. I wasn't traveling nowhere, but she said, "Oh, we're gonna meet up here." And I spoke to my husband, and he was probably looking at me sideways. So he's like, "But you ain't even leaving the house to go. But you about to go?" I'm like, "Yeah." And
Just like that, boundaries.
right? And I went. And when I say coming back off of that trip, I wrote my resignation letter. I didn't hand it in until like 6 months later, but it was written. That's how much strength I got from the room to just write it. To recognize, so that when I started to see the signs of my own mental health decline in the mental health job, I was like, you gotta need to change, Lord. It's not it, right? And so that was the support of that. And so sometimes if you don't have one, you can make one, right? You can come to events like this that help you to grow and help you to change and get the support that you need. So. Mindful eating and movement. See, I have to put a little wine with the salad and the fruit because everything in moderation, right? And so, yes, sometimes a glass of wine is helpful, but also you gotta think about your intentional choices every single day to help you, right? I'm very vocal about me struggling with PCOS, right? And so in that, I had to become extremely mindful because one of the things that happens is I have insulin resistance and high inflammation. And so I can work out. I actually used to work out all the time. Lift weights and nothing moves. My eating had to change. And when I said eating, it was how much I was eating. I was not eating enough food. And I know most people are like, wait, what? But storing, right? Your body starts to hold on. I was going through my job because I was in the field. There was days where I was like, did I eat breakfast?
Never.
Right?
Never did.
Did I drink water? Right? Did you do any of those things? And your body needs water, your body needs food. And so I had to I had no hunger cues. When I started working with a dietitian and she told me how much I had to eat, I literally was feeling like I had to throw up for the first 3 months. Because I wasn't eating enough and my body wasn't used to it. Right? But what happens the moment that you start doing something that your body gets used to it, what's happening kicks up. Your body and your mind are wired in a specific way with nutrition and sleep.
Sleep.
And movement. Right? What happens, I started seeing a chiropractor. What happens when you are sitting at the desk all day 24/7?
You go back.
Right? You start walking like this, you develop, your posture starts to change, and it actually reduces your life expectancy. Right? So understanding that we gotta be mindful of what we're taking in, right? What we're eating. It's not to say that you can't enjoy life. I'm West Indian. Let's believe we gotta eat good. However, sometimes I gotta swap out the rice with some quinoa, and sometimes I gotta go vegan for a week. Like sometimes I gotta switch up some things and not eat in the same way, right? There was a point in time my husband looked in the fridge, he was like, yo, this looks like grass central. What is going on here? Right? But I was prioritizing and finding what worked for my body, right? To fuel me longer. If I'm sitting through 4 sessions or 5 sessions, You want a therapist that's alert. You don't want a therapist who is asleep, right? And so I have to figure out, one, what am I gonna eat that's gonna sustain me, but also not make me have to go to the bathroom midway?
Right.
Because I'm in session with, so it becomes me really being fully mindful, fully aware. Like really take time and be mindful of what you need. When you eat something, does it make you feel tired? Does it make you feel sleepy? Maybe that's not the thing that you have to eat when you have a long day, right? Maybe it's the thing you enjoy when you know you have just a weekend, you're chilling. But understand what goes into it. Same thing with movement. Women, when you're on your cycles, pay attention to how you're feeling. Most of the time we're like, I don't want to do nothing, I don't want to work out. But there are certain parts of your cycle where if you are doing certain types of workout, it will help you feel better. And then you have more energy towards the end where you could do a little bit more of the HIIT training. You may start off at the beginning like, I ain't moving. But that's also an indicator of something happening in your body, right? And so over this course of partnering with dietitians, partnering with wellness experts, I've learned and figured out within my own practice, like our bodies are always telling us something. And we have somatic feelings in our bodies. You have to pay attention to what you're feeling. When you're anxious, what is showing up? Are your hands sweating? Are your feet trembling? What are you experiencing? When you're sad, what's happening? Is your gut hurting, right? What's going on? Because all of those are somatic symptoms, and practicing mindfulness to be aware of what's happening every single day will help you to figure out, when you go read the journal questions, what's going on with everything. Go ahead. So go to the next slide.
Just to add for everybody, also watch your alcohol intake because the alcohol like is incorrect, antidepressant, correct?
Alcohol.
I mean, excuse me. Yeah, it's a depressant.
It's suppressant.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a suppressant sometimes, and so understanding alcohol intake, understanding if you smoke marijuana, all of the different things have different interactions. For some people, you good. Other people, you not. Pay attention to that. If you're not good, then stay away from it, right? But understand, or if you're using it recreationally, use it to relax, right? But don't do something just because everybody else is doing it. Figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Same thing when it comes to mental health treatment. What works for you? Pay attention. Are you mindful enough to look at all different facets of your life to know what is working for you? If not, get the support and then figure it out along the way. It's a process. So that is it. Thank you guys.
Oh my
You did an amazing job.
Man, if I ain't have a therapist, girl.
Well, I'm happy that you have a therapist.
Yeah.
Keep going to them.
So we did have a link for you to use if you wanted to ask questions anonymously, but we did ask a lot of questions throughout. But you still have the link, so I mean, if Janelle's checking
if you
it out.
want to, you can still put up scan the QR code. You can send your questions anonymously, and maybe I can
Send
send
them
them
over to
live
me.
and just put them in the stories feed with the answers.
And tag them.
And
And I
tag
think for sure you'll get the slides, but if you do ask questions and Janelle.
Because it's anonymous. Literally, when it comes to me, I just see the question.
Right.
It doesn't show anything.
So any questions you ask, they'll get sent over to me, and I'll distribute them via email so everybody can get the information. And like I mentioned in the email, like you never know how your question might identify with somebody else. You never know what you could be like bringing out of somebody else. So we're not alone in this. Clearly, we're not alone in this. So if you do have a question that didn't get addressed already, please scan the QR code. It is a resource. Y'all walked in the building for free. Please use this resource. This Q&A, the link was working. I was watching it to see if anybody was asking me. Please, if you have a question as you leave, fill it out. Go ahead, Janelle. Sell yourself.
Oh, so we have Simply Redefining Wellness and Counseling. We offer individual therapy, couples, premarital, support groups, wellness coaching, personal coaching, workshops, training, for companies, schools, churches. Currently, so like I said, on the team when I started was just me. So I currently take Aetna, United, and Optum. We're expanding the group practice for us all to take Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and United with Optum. And so currently, everybody on the practice does take Optum, and then our sliding scale is anywhere between 50 to for the first session, depending on what you're
And
coming.
that's brunch, $50 for brunch, like, please.
Do you want to get your mom right, or do you want to, what's up?
That's the whole slogan.
Okay.
And so if you are interested or you know someone, you can scan this QR. It's gonna give a direct form for us to just get information from you. And then someone from my team will get back to you. Obviously, if we don't take your insurance, like I said, there's a sliding scale. And then the reason why we also collect the insurance information is so that we know what our demand is. So we know where to apply for insurance for the next set of people. So right now, we're getting a lot of inquiries from Cigna. So that might be the next panel that we credential. So yeah.
Excellent.
Next slide. And that's it. Follow me at Simply Redefining.
Yeah.
Info at Simply Redefining. And visit my website at www.simplyredefining.com.